So you just got your OCI card, and you're thinking, great, I automatically have NRI status now, right? Well, not exactly. Welcome to the explainer. It's literally the biggest misconception among the global Indian diaspora. You jump through all the paperwork, you finally get that Overseas Citizen of India card in your hands, and you naturally assume you're covered by this nice blanket NRI financial status. But honestly, that assumption is just an illusion. Because India's regulatory system definitely does not treat your OCI card like some universal VIP pass.
Instead, you run straight into what we call the three-law problem. India's regulators have totally different answers depending on which rulebook they happen to be using. The Income Tax Act, that counts your days. FEMA, it judges your intent. And SEBI, they check your compliance. It's three different laws pulling your wealth in entirely different directions.
Section 1. The OCI Identity Crisis.
To really navigate this whole maze, we first need to get straight on what an OCI actually is, and maybe more importantly, what it isn't. Look, a lot of people treat the OCI like it's dual citizenship. It's not. No way around it. India simply doesn't allow dual citizenship. In reality, your OCI is basically a lifetime, multi-use visa that puts you on par with non-resident Indians for most economic and educational stuff. But here's the massive myth. It absolutely does not give you an automatic tax shield. The card itself has literally zero bearing on your tax residency.
Okay, let's dive into Section 2, the three-law problem.
All right, so this is where the identity crisis truly kicks into high gear. The main villain here for your financial peace of mind is India's overlapping legal frameworks. First up, we have the Income Tax Act. This is a super rigid mathematical revenue law. It classifies you as a resident if you physically spend 182 days in India during a financial year. And hey, quick heads up, if your Indian-sourced income is over 15 lakh rupees, that threshold drops to just 120 days. But then, right next door, we have the Foreign Exchange Management Act, or FEMA. Now, FEMA couldn't care less about your day count. It only cares about your intent. The second you leave India for an indefinite period, say for a job or a business, boom, you're a non-resident. But the moment you return with the intent to settle down permanently, you become a resident instantly. So here's the crazy part. You can really easily fall into this dangerous hybrid status. Just imagine moving back to India in January. Under FEMA, you're instantly a resident because of your intent. But under the Income Tax Act, you haven't hit that 182-day mark yet, so you're actually still a non-resident.
And honestly, that perfectly shows how the third law complicates things even more. SEBI is the boss of your investments. If you're an OCI using Demat apps to invest in Indian-listed companies or mutual funds, SEBI isn't just looking at FEMA or the Income Tax Act. Because you live abroad, they enforce these incredibly strict FATCA and KYC renewals. These are basically global tax compliance checks based on your account's risk profile, and sometimes you have to do this every 2 years. If you happen to ignore this third layer of compliance, your accounts can literally be frozen in an instant.
Section 3, the NRE account risk.
When you apply these laws to your most popular banking tool, you face a really stark reality. Move back to India permanently, keep your NRE account open, and you risk violating FEMA. It's such a common trap.
Let's look at how these accounts are actually structured. Now, your NRE account is absolutely amazing while you're living abroad, right? It holds foreign funds converted to rupees, you can completely repatriate the money, and the best part is the interest is 100% tax-free. But, and this is a huge but, that tax-free status completely depends on you being a non-resident under FEMA. The second your intent shifts and you move back home, your FEMA status flips to resident. And at that exact moment, holding onto that NRE account becomes illegal. You literally have to redesignate it as a regular resident savings account or convert it to a resident foreign currency, an RFC account, just to stay compliant.
Section 4, the property holding gap.
Beyond just banking, this legal maze extends right into real estate. As an OCI, you can absolutely buy a residential flat in Bangalore, but you are strictly prohibited from buying an agricultural farmhouse. Now, sure, there is an exception here, but it comes with a pretty massive catch. You are allowed to inherit an agricultural farmhouse from a resident of India. But because of FEMA's super strict rules protecting agrarian land, if you ever decide you want to sell that inherited farmland, you can only sell it to a resident Indian citizen. No selling it to another NRI, and definitely no selling it to another OCI.
Section 5, Budget 2026 Clarifications. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how Budget 2026 removes a massive administrative nightmare for OCIs selling real estate. Property sale TDS is now vastly simplified and processed using just the resident buyer's PAN.
And hey, there are actually a few other major regulatory reliefs for the diaspora to celebrate. For instance, if you're a non-resident global expert visiting India for a 5-year stint under specific notified schemes, you're now completely exempt from the minimum alternate tax, or MAT, on your global income. We also saw a really nice drop in the tax collected at source, the TCS, down to just 2% for returning resident Indians doing remittances for education and medical reasons.
But listen, perhaps the absolute biggest win for investors is this exact number right here, 24%. Budget 2026 didn't just double the individual equity limit for a person resident outside India from 5% up to 10%. It boosted the overall combined limit for all non-residents investing in a listed Indian company to 24%. That is huge. It drastically expands your ability to build wealth directly in the Indian stock market.
Section 6. Your next steps.
So let's take a breath. We've just unpacked 3 totally different law books trying to dictate your wealth: the crazy NRE trap, the property gaps, and some of the latest budget fixes. So where does that actually leave you? Well, it leaves you in a position of power. Yes, the overlapping rules of income tax, FEMA, and SEBI create a really complex legal web. It's confusing, but once you actually understand the rules of the game, this whole hybrid status transforms from a scary compliance liability into a massive strategic opportunity. You can legally optimize your global wealth, protect your assets, and invest super efficiently in one of the world's fastest-growing economies.
But to really capitalize on that opportunity, you absolutely cannot rely on assumptions. Are you going to let outdated rules trap your wealth, or are you going to use them to your advantage? You need to know exactly where you stand across all 3 rulebooks right now. DM me the word OCI, and I will send you a completely free, comprehensive tax status audit checklist so you can map out exactly which laws apply to your specific situation today. Take control of your status, and I'll see you in the next explainer.